Hello everyone and welcome to another video. 2024 was a very productive year for me, creatively. I completed a lot of creative projects, learned new skills, and produced many handmade garments that I am proud to wear. I experimented with new styles, incorporated new colors and materials into my wardrobe, and ultimately feel very satisfied with my creative output. However, as we come to the end of one year and the start of another, I find it useful to reflect upon what changes would be helpful to implement in the new year, to take a look at what worked and what could be improved in my creative practice, and to set some intentions for 2025. I hope that in sharing my goals and intentions for the new year, that you can find some inspiration for yourself and for your creative endeavors as you plan the year ahead. I think it's really important to approach this exercise of thinking and planning for the new year with an attitude of abundance, with the belief that there will be creative energy, time, and resources, and making time for ourselves that we can create the beautiful things that we envision. When you're a creative person, showing up and putting in the time is 95% of the effort. And occasionally, inspiration will strike, something beautiful will come, but it won't if you don't show up and provide an opportunity for it to surface. If you want to be able to make something that requires learning a new skill, the only way that you're going to accomplish that is by putting in the time again and again to learn the new skill, to master it, and to become the person that is capable of creating what you envision. So things like procrastination, self-doubt, self-sabotage, we're leaving those behind. We're going to be bold and we're going to approach the new year and our plans with confidence. Part of building confidence is knowing that setbacks, that trial and error are part of the creative process and they're not a sign of ultimate failure. I remember when I first started sewing that I was really intimidated by the idea of making jeans. There are a lot of steps. I was intimidated by using heavier fabric and materials. And the only thing that got me to where I am today, where jeans are one of my favorite types of garments to make, and I have made many pairs that I love, is by putting in the time and honestly trying and failing and learning from my mistakes until I figured it out and learned the skills required to create what I wanted to create. One of my goals for the new year is learning how to knit colorwork designs. And I have been intimidated by this because it sounds complex. You have to read charts, you have to hold multiple colors of yarn at once. But I know that by starting, by just diving in and learning as I go, I'm going to be able to figure it out. I'm going to learn the skills required to create what I want to create. Sometimes when we're thinking about the new year and about goals and things that we want to accomplish, our mindset can become one of more, like, how many things can I accomplish? What are all of the things that I want to make and learn and do? And that perspective can be honestly a little bit debilitating. I think when we're focusing on everything that we want to get done, it can detract from acknowledging and celebrating everything that we've already accomplished, everything that we've already learned, everything we've already made and done well, all of the things that we've created that we're proud of. And so I think that when you're sitting down to make a list of goals and things that you do want to create in the upcoming year, it's really, really helpful to start from a reflective place and from a place that really acknowledges all of the beautiful things that we've already created and all of the skills that we've already acquired. And if you start from that place, a place of reflection and celebration of all of the good that has happened in the past year, I think you're setting yourself up to be in a much better mind space and a much more confident place to then make goals and set creative intentions for the new year. So let's reflect on all of the good things from the past year, on what worked and what went well, then move forward with goal planning and thoughts about what we want to accomplish. And if we do this, we'll be coming from a place of confidence and excitement as opposed to overwhelm or self-doubt, or discouragement. So, practically speaking, this could look like looking through photos of things that you created in the past year. Specifically, when you're making garments, this can be really helpful because if you look through photos of yourself wearing the things that you've made, you can really take into consideration what worked. Ask yourself questions like, does the garment fit well? Was it comfortable to wear? Did it incorporate well into your existing wardrobe and personal style? Was it something that you were excited to reach for? Or was it something that maybe you were really inspired to make because you saw a lot of other people making it? Or it was a newly released pattern that you were really excited about the design, but then upon completing it, you had a hard time incorporating it into your wardrobe and it didn't really suit your personal style. Also, were there certain patterns that you made more than once? Were there certain designers that created multiple patterns that worked really well for you? Did you find new colors or patterns or textures that suit you really well? Do you remember the 2024 ins and outs trend on Instagram, where basically you make a list of mindsets or ways of doing things that are out with the old and then in with the new? The inside of the list are things that you want to, perspectives that you want to have, or mindsets or habits. So, for instance, you could say out with self doubt, and then on the inside, in with confidence in my abilities. Or you could say something like out with tight, uncomfortable waistbands, in with clothing that is comfortable and easy to move in. Whatever is specific to you and whatever is going to be helpful in your planning for the new year. And writing these down to reference later can be really, really helpful. If there's a specific skill that you want to learn, or if there's a certain type of style or aesthetic that you want to incorporate into your handmade garments, making a list of ins and outs can kind of help you focus and refine and bring to specific points the things that you want to leave behind and the things that you want to embrace and work towards in the new year. It can be really helpful to make a vision board of things that are inspiring you and things that you want to create in the new year. You can do this over on Pinterest. You can make a Pinterest board of different things that you'd like to sew or knit in the new year. You can do this by creating a sort of photo collage or a folder of images that you find that are inspiring to you. You could write down a list, as I mentioned, but it's really important to kind of compile together all of your inspiration. And to do this before you make a list of goals, I think can be really helpful. Similar vein as what I said about reflecting on what worked in the past year. I think that if you reflect on what worked and maybe what didn't work so well, and then you compile a lot of inspiration and you make a list of ins and outs, then I believe you're in a good place to start creating goals from a perspective that is informed, inspired, and confident. I think that's a really good place to start making goals and setting intentions for your creative practice in the new year. So, I also think it can be helpful to kind of list out the different categories of creative practice that you want to pursue and grow in. And then from those larger categories, create smaller goals that will help you actually accomplish what you want to accomplish. So, for instance, for myself, I could say that different areas that I want to focus on creatively in the new year could be sewing, knitting, painting, YouTube, social media, it could be writing, all of the different big categories that I want to grow in the new year. And then once I have those larger categories, within them making smaller, more specific goals. So you can break down your specific goals into tasks throughout the year. I think it can be really helpful to have seasonal goals or quarterly. I mean, you could do monthly goals or even weekly if that works best for you. But if you take a kind of big perspective of the whole year and then you break it down into things that you want to accomplish quarterly or seasonally or even monthly, I think that that will really help you stay on track and stay focused and help you accomplish those goals that you want to accomplish. And if you don't do this, you might feel overwhelmed and you might not get started. And be realistic. How much time do you have to dedicate to these different creative pursuits? Do you have a certain amount of time each week or each month that you can spend on these tasks? Maybe it's a little bit of time each day that you want to put into your schedule, but be realistic with yourself. Set realistic goals so that you don't get overwhelmed and you maintain that excitement when you do get to work on these creative projects. For instance, maybe you have a goal of making a pair of jeans and you've never done that before. Break it down into smaller goals that are really accomplishable. Maybe you find a pattern. Maybe you make a muslin. Maybe then you purchase some nice denim and the hardware required. You make mistakes, you learn how to fix them, and if you take these bigger goals one at a time, you really are capable of accomplishing any of the creative things that you want to accomplish. You don't have to produce a finished product within the allotted amount of time that you've given yourself. The most important thing is to be consistent. And if you dedicate a certain amount of time each week towards your goal, eventually you will get there. And you don't have to create something in its final form. It's about the practice and the continuous showing up for yourself and for your craft is what's really going to allow you to improve and to learn the new skills that you want to learn. One of my personal goals is to dedicate more time to painting this year. I found that in the past year, my excitement about sewing and knitting projects kind of took over, and I really got caught up in the momentum of new pattern releases or purchasing fabrics or yarns that I immediately wanted to work with, and painting kind of got put on the back burner. And so part of my hope is that in setting specific goals and intentions for 2025 and kind of mapping out my quarterly and monthly plans, is that I won't be as caught up in spur of the moment choices and projects, which is not a bad thing, and definitely follow the inspiration when it strikes. But if you do have kind of monthly or quarterly projects that you want to accomplish, I find that it can keep myself and likely you more on track so that you will dedicate time to all of the different creative pursuits that you have. Hopefully, I will allot time for each of the crafts that I want to dedicate time to throughout the week, throughout the months, so that I don't kind of just get caught up and buy 10 new patterns and neglect painting or writing or whatever it may be for yourself. Referencing those vision boards, the in and out list, all of the things that you want to accomplish, keeping those kind of at the forefront of your mind. When you have time and creative energy, it will really help direct you and hopefully will result in the creation of what you've envisioned. Also, it's really, really important to document. Document not only your plans and your inspiration, but document your makes. Document the materials that you use, whether or not they worked for you, things that you liked and didn't like about the materials you use. Document how much everything costs and how much time you put into your projects. Document things like fit, if you're making garments, and any adjustments maybe that you've made to a pattern. And having all of this information that maybe if you're caught up in the creative process, you don't take the time to document. If you do take the time, having it at the end of a project is incredibly helpful to look back on. I know a lot of people have project notebooks where they will include a photo of the thing that they've created, as well as all of the materials used and the fit corrections and things like that. If you don't have a notebook, maybe you prefer to do it digitally and like your notes app or something like that. But I do think it's incredibly valuable to document the process. Again, document what worked and what didn't. Taking notes as you go is invaluable to have to reference later. And I think that it's going to help you elevate your skills a lot more quickly when you can see what worked and why and what didn't and why. Also, the documentation doesn't have to be public. You don't have to share your creations on social media or anything like that. But if you decide to do so, I have found from personal experience that it can be really, really valuable because so many creators have a breadth of knowledge and experience that they're happy to share and excited to share. And so sharing on social media can be really encouraging, and it can build a sense of community that I think is really, really valuable because as creators, we're often spending a lot of time in isolation when we're creating. And I think having that community, even if it is just online, can be incredibly valuable to the learning and skill building process, but also just emotionally, it can be really encouraging. And I know that I love sharing what I'm creating here on YouTube with you guys and also on my Instagram. And I love having conversations with you guys in the comments and in messages because I'm learning so much from all of you. And I think it's so much fun to share with each other the projects that we're working on and the materials that we use and things that worked really well and things that didn't, maybe to avoid. Yeah, I think that documenting the process and sharing the process can be really, really valuable too. I hope this video has been interesting. I hope that you're feeling excited and inspired to create in this new year. Happy New Year. It's officially 2025. I'm planning on making a couple of specific project planning videos, such as knitting plans and sewing plans and things like that, probably seasonally. I think that that has worked well for me in the past and is a good way going forward. I will be sure to update you on projects and hopefully celebrate the wins, but I'll also share when things don't work out and why. I think that's really valuable too. I have a lot of ideas for videos in the new year, and I'm really excited to spend more time on this space and to make more videos to share with you guys. So, if you're new here, please do consider hitting the subscribe button below and join me on this creative journey in the new year. Let me know what you're excited to make in the new year. Yeah, let me know what you'd like to see in this space as we go forward. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all doing really, really well, and yeah, Happy New Year.